Hi guys, so today I'm going to go through the process that I use for building my arrows and how I get them the way that I've been building them. I'm pretty new to this. I just started. I've only built a few so far, but everything I've built is shot like darts. I mean, they're freaking awesome. I do things a little bit different than a lot of people. Um, I'll show you all that in the video as we get going here, and I will see what you guys think. I mean, you can let me know in the comments if I'm doing something wrong. I'm sure I'm not going to be perfect, and like I said, I do it a lot different than a lot of people, but this way works for me, and so far I've had zero issues. The veins stick really good. I actually messed up today. I was playing around with some different sight tapes on my bow, and I shot out to 60 yards, and I was just testing out some different ones, trying to really dial it in, and I missed my target, and I have a old gate, like a chain link fence gate, sitting behind my targets in front of my wood pile, and it's got tubing on it, you know, like it's that big around, it's a good sized tubing. So I missed the target, and the arrow with a field point went clean through this daggum rod, the metal rod that goes all the way around the outside of the gate, and buried all the way up to the fletchings. Like, it hit so hard, and the arrow was fine, the insert was fine, everything's still tight on it, so I'm pretty sold on the way that I'm building them for now. That was a pretty hard hit for it to go through all the way through that thing like that. And I mean, of course, it stripped the fletching off when it went through that rod, but for the insert not to have come loose or anything like that, and it to take that hard of a hit, I'm pretty tickled with it. And alright, let's get into it. Alright guys, so the very first thing I'm going to do whenever I start this process, I'm going to get my arrow, and I've got this little Pine Ridge Archery arrow spinner here, and I'll take my arrow and I will put it on this arrow spinner and spin it. And what I'm looking for is to see which end has the most wobble. The front end of this thing, it's going to be hard to see on camera, the front end of this thing has almost no wobble at all. It doesn't look like the back end really does either. It looks pretty slick. So this arrow is pretty straight, which starting with a good arrow is probably pretty important anyways. These are match grades, so they're .001. These are actually 340 spine, 9.5 grains per inch. These are the Easton Axis 5mm. So anyways, after I spin it, like I said, it doesn't really matter which end I cut from because they both spin. There's not really any wobble in either end. So I will take this and we're going to mark it and cut it. And how I mark mine is, this is going to seem silly, but I've already got a line on this board. So I took my old arrows that they got cut for me at the shop based on my draw length, and with the knock in, I stuck them up against here and just seen where they fell on this board to the end of them, and I marked to the end of the arrow so that I know every time I cut new arrows for my setup, I know exactly how long I want to cut them, and I don't have to fool with a tape measure or any of that. So I'll just hold that arrow up there and mark that arrow right at that line. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, then we're going to come over here to my little Hercules, this little Amazon special saw that I've been using to cut my arrows with, and it works really good. So I've already, you can see I've got a little red line right there on my arrow. I held it up on my board there and marked it to the length I needed. I will put my arrow in here. Let's show you guys this real quick. So once I got my arrow in there, I'll just take and bring this saw down and check exactly where that arrow needs to be, and then we'll cut it. Okay, so once I get that cut, what I was doing is as that arrow was in that saw, I was spinning it. I was just slowly turning it so that it doesn't fray any of that carbon fiber in this shaft, in this arrow shaft, to make sure that we get as smooth of a cut as possible. And now how I square this up is going to be different than a lot of people. So I didn't have like a G5 squaring tool or anything like a lot of people use. These Easton Axis shafts come with a little cheap, just a little squaring block. but it's just a loose little round block. So what I did is I drilled me a hole out in this bottom piece of wood for it to set down in, and then I drilled a hole the size of the arrow shaft through this top one, and I drilled it out so that it sandwiches that block in there and got it screwed together. So all I have to do is to square this up is put my arrow shaft in this hole and just twist it. So once I just put it in there, just twist it back and forth, make sure that end of that is good and square. It looks pretty good right there. Sometimes I'll take a color pencil or something and just mark it all the way around the top. A lot of people do it with a silver Sharpie or something. I don't have a silver Sharpie. I do have a color pencil though, so that's what we're going to use. But you just stick that arrow shaft down in there, just square it up good. It doesn't take a whole lot really. And how I check to make sure that's square, after I square it off, I'll take a field tip and I will just stick that field tip down in there and make sure, without a insert or anything, I'll just stick that field tip down in there and push it all the way in and just look at it, make sure that it's square, perfect up to the edge of that field tip all the way around, and there's no gaps or anything like that. That way I know that end is perfect square. So once we got that, pull that back out. I've got you can see on the wall here, I've got my 3 different colors of fletchings that I've got right now. I've got some arrow wraps, I've got some Q-tips, I got rubbing alcohol in this bottle here. And this is a cool little bottle. This is from the Dollar Tree. You literally just open that top and push down on this and it will fill this up. You just pump it a couple times and it'll fill that little thing up with alcohol, and you can dip your Q-tip in it. So I'll show you guys this. This is what I will do next. I will get me a Q-tip out, and I'll take and get some of that rubbing alcohol all on the end of that Q-tip and just clean all the extra carbon out of the end of the shaft that we just cut. Because when you insert that, when you put that insert in it, you want to make sure that it sticks good when you glue it in. So I'll run that Q-tip in there and clean that out good, and you can see all that carbon that's all over that. Then I'll take the dry end of the Q-tip, do the same thing. Just run it down in there and try to make sure that there's no carbon. See, I cleaned that come out. There's nothing on it, but that other end is nasty. So that'll take a second to flash off. I mean, it's just rubbing alcohol. It flashes off and dries pretty quick. So then the next thing we're gonna do is I've got my inserts right here. They come with this little insert tool with your shafts. All this comes with the shafts when you order the shafts, when you order the bare shafts from the factory. So I'll take my insert tool and my insert and put these in. All you do is take some, where's it at? I've got just super glue, just regular super glue. I started out epoxying them and I was having to wait quite a while before I could do anything with them for that epoxy to dry. But this super glue dries quick, and like I said earlier, I shot one of these arrows and I had to refletch it and re-wrap it and everything. I shot it completely through a chain link fence gate, the metal tubing on it, it's like this big around. It went all the way through that gate tubing and buried up almost to the end of the fletchings. And the fletchings were actually, everyone was still attached at the end out here. Like they were peeled off, you know, but they were still attached on the end. So I mean, that shows you how good that super glue did, because that's what I used to glue the fletchings on and the inserts. And even at that hard a hit going through both sides of that metal tubing, that insert was still in there tight, no problem. It didn't come loose or come out like I've had some store-bought ones do before. When they take a hard hit, you know, that insert will come loose and then you can't get your tips to tighten up. They'll just keep, that insert will just spin in the shaft. But that one was perfect still. So that's what we're gonna do. I will take this insert right here, take the super glue, and I will just stick this insert tool right in the end of that. These are the hit inserts that come with these Easton shafts, and I'll just take that super glue and just cover that whole insert good with it. I'll get it all over there. You want to get plenty of super glue on there. I want this thing to stick and not never come out. A lot of people use hot melt, but I'm not going to. I don't plan on taking these back out, so I'll put that in there and just spin it as I put it in there, and then pull your insert tool out. And that insert is set in there, and I will just give that a few minutes to dry. And that insert, it'll be, like I said, it'll be rock solid. With all that super glue in there, you won't have a problem. I've heard several people tell me that they build theirs the same way as far as the super glue and for the inserts. So I tried it. I actually ordered the AAE glue, the primer pin, and the fletching glue and insert glue, and the primer pin and the wipes, the AAE Max Vein wipes that they want you to wipe your veins down with and all that stuff. It didn't come. I ordered it on Amazon. It just didn't show up. I don't know what the deal was. It got lost in the mail or something, maybe. I'm not sure. But, so, that being said, I decided I couldn't keep waiting. It's been like over 2 weeks. I've been waiting on this stuff to come in, and I got tired of waiting. I wanted to build some arrows. So, I went ahead, and this is how I do it. I take, let's see, I go ahead and get my wraps. Now on these arrow shafts, some people spine align them. I haven't worried about that. I've just run it however, so wherever the knock is at in this when I go to fletch them, is that I just fletch them the way that is, the way the knock is set in there. That's how I fletch them. I don't worry about trying to spine align it and all that, because these are match grades, and so far, knock on wood, I haven't had any problems with needing to spine align them. They flew perfect. So what we're gonna do, that's probably actually dry now, but what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and put a wrap on this one. And so I got my wraps right here. I'll just get one out of here. I got my sheet of wraps. I run a white wrap on mine, and I've got just a cheap mouse pad that we had at the house. I tried wrapping them. The first one I did just on my tabletop, and it just was harder to get it to go on good. The reason for the mouse pad is you can press it down. You can press down on the arrow shaft as you roll that, roll it on, and it seems like it works a lot better as far as getting your arrow wrap on. I'll show you guys that real quick right here. So there it is. Alright, so I will take, and what I've been using, these are just ProSat, I don't know, they're just alcohol wipes is all they are. Just pure alcohol, and they smell like it. We got a bunch of those during the COVID deal, and so this is what I'm using them for, since the AAE stuff didn't ever come. So I'll take one of these alcohol wipes out, and I will wipe off the whole end of this shaft really, really good with that alcohol wipe, just so that there's no oils from my fingertips or anything like that, or anything from the factory. See all that crap that just come off that arrow shaft? There's nothing from the factory on here to make sure that this wrap sticks and adheres really good. So once I get that good and clean, I'll just set that wipe to the side, and I will not touch anywhere that this arrow wrap is fixing to go after that point. I'll go ahead and peel my arrow wrap off, lay it down, sticky side up, of course. Try to get it on here straight. Okay. Then I will take my arrow shaft, get this on here, and just line it up as straight as I can with the end of that arrow, and then just kind of press down on either end of it, on the knock end and then on the other side of the wrap, and just slowly roll it on there. There we go. And so once that's on, I'll take my finger and just make sure that's really good and on there. These things stick really, really good. They're Sierra Archery arrow wraps is the ones that I ordered. And so once I get those on, I'll take this right here, this alcohol wipe again, and I will wipe the arrow wrap down so there's no oils for my fingers or anything like that on there. Just make sure that it's good and clean and that the veins will stick, because everybody's told me that these AAE veins are a pain in the butt to get to stick if you don't really use. They tell you to use their primer pen. But like I said, I couldn't get it enough, so this is how I do it. And so far I have had 0 issues. So I wipe that wrap down really good again. Make sure there's nothing on it, no oils or anything like that. This is a, I don't even remember the brand. It's an Amazon special, just the red one you can find on Amazon, the Fletch and Jig. And now I took my old arrows that were bought from the shop to decide where I was going to put my, let me get this, my fletchings at on my new arrows. Let me get this set up, sorry. And so this thing has lines on it, but you can't really see them. I mean, you can see them, but not in the camera. So what I did was I took a Sharpie and I put my old arrow, the one that was already fletched, pre-fletched, I put it in the jig, and then I took my clamp, lined it up how it was going to be once it's in the jig, and kind of clamped it down on my other arrow that I already had, and figured out where I needed my new veins when I'm fletching these new ones, where I needed it to actually set. And I made a mark with a Sharpie so that every single time I put a vein in here, I know exactly how far to slide the back of that vein to, so that they all come out exactly the same and perfect. And so I'll go ahead and get my veins ready here. My bags, I run one of each color on these. That's what I've been doing with the white wraps. They turn out, they look really good. They're really bright. And even at 40 yards, I can see almost perfect where these things are hitting on my target. With my other arrows, they're kind of hard to see. They look like this. These are the ones that I bought from the shop originally. This is one that got broke during deer season. But they just got the bright orange veins, and there's no wrap at all. And when these things hit my orange target, you cannot see them. They're hard to find in the woods too if they're a complete pass-through. Sometimes they're tricky to find, even with the orange veins, because they get covered with blood, you know, when they go through, and then they're hard to spot laying there. So I take these alcohol wipes, and I'm wiping down the spine of this vein to make sure that anything left on it from the factory is off of there and it's completely clean, since I don't have the primer pen. And there's, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a bunch of yellow crap coming off of this vein actually on this wipe right now. So I'll get that one good and clean and set it to the side. I'll do all 3 veins the same way. So I'll just pick one of each color. I will get all 3 of these veins wiped down so that there's nothing on them, and that the glue sticks really good and they stick really good to the arrow shaft, and I don't end up with any problems with these veins sticking later. There wasn't as much come off of that orange one and the green one. I'll do it the same way. Just wipe that spine down really good. Like I said, you do not want to get this thing covered in super glue and then then the veins not want to stick to the wrap. That's really irritating. Like I said, so far I've been doing this, I haven't had any problems getting these to stick with just plain old super glue from the Dollar Tree. I mean, it's a super glue brand, but I bought these at the Dollar Tree. The label's peeled off of this one, but I got another pack over here with 2 more. But once you get those good and clean, so the first one I'm going to run is my yellow one. And what I'll do is I will line it up with my mark on my jig. Put it in here. Get the back end of that lined up perfect with that mark that I made on this jig, so I know exactly where that way they all turn out perfect. I mean, I was even looking at some of the ones I got from the shop that they built at the shop for me, and some of those were off just a little bit. I mean, the veins, they're not perfect, so I mean, it's all preference. I mean, I'm not going to be stupid picky, but I would like to get them as close to perfect as I can. It's just, it'll bother me if they're not. If they're all whopper jawed, it's going to aggravate me. So then you take super glue. Everything is set up here in the jig. I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm trying to get a good camera here where you can see what I got going on. So everything is set up in the jig. I'll just take my super glue and run it down the spine of this. I'll just put a couple dots. I'll just space them out down through here. Just dot up that vein with that super glue. And then I come back through and just fill in the whole thing. Make sure it's full of super glue. You don't have to put a ton on it, but you do want to make sure it's all the way down, top to bottom. And just take her on there, stick it on the jig. Let it do its thing. You always want to make sure that you orient your arrow so that your whatever vein you want to use for your cock veiner, if you're running all three colors, it doesn't matter, but you want to make sure that one of them is to the knock of that arrow so that it's set up right and lines up right in your bow. And I just wait, 15-20 seconds. And what I'll do is take a Q-tip while I'm waiting after I put that on. I'll take me a Q-tip. I got a box of them down here too. And I will just clean up any excess glue that squeezes out while that's drying, so that you got a nice real clean look when you're done. It's gonna be kind of a longer video, guys, but I know it's not exactly really exciting either. But so once that one's done, I'll spin it and come through. I've got a little bit of glue on this side of the vein. I'll just wipe that up. Those cotton swabs pick it up pretty good. Get all that super glue out. Now we're ready for the next one. Let's see. The orange one is one. I've got them all. I know it sounds stupid, but I've got them all color coded so that they're all fletched exactly the same yellow, orange, green. They're all exactly the same orientation on my bow. So if my yellow vein's up, then the next one over is the orange, and the next one over is the green. I know it may seem dumb, but I don't know. It just bothers me if I don't do it that way. You can build them however you want. There's no way that says you got to do it a certain way, but that's just how I do it. So, same thing. A few dots all the way down the shaft of it. Spread your glue out all the way down that shaft of that vein. And we'll put it on. You want to make sure that when you put this in the jig, that the back of your clamp is butted up against the end of this here first, and then you slide, you kind of just angle that down onto the arrow shaft after that, and it'll set that vein perfect. Like I said, this is just a little cheap $30 Amazon special jig that my wife ordered for me, and I really like it. I mean, for what I'm doing, I'm not building tons and tons and tons of arrows, which I don't think it would be a problem if I was, but no more than I'm building and stuff. I'm just building for myself, and I really like it. So far, it seems really good and solid. You can take a screw out of the back of this. It comes with an Allen wrench, and you can take this Allen screw out and change. There's two little plastic pieces in here inside this knob that you change out, and you can change it from a three fletch configuration to a 4 fletch if you want to run a 4 fletch. I'm just running a 3 on mine, but to each his own. Like I said, we'll come through again and make sure we got all this super glue cleaned up. You don't want a bunch of glue dangling all down the side of your arrow shaft. That's annoying, and it doesn't look good. I just like this. They look so much cleaner when you take the time to just clean up that extra glue and make them look right. Okay. And now we're on to the last fletch. And you guys will get to see what this looks like. So, put the green one in here. And a lot of times before I add my next fletch, I'll take my finger and just wipe down the insides of this clamp. Make sure that there's no super glue on the clamp in here anywhere that's going to cause my vein to stick in there when I pull it off and give me trouble here in a minute. So we'll just put that, line it right up with our mark. And glue her down. Same as before. Just put the dots on here. So there's no certain way anybody has to do this. This is just how I'm doing it. And it's, like I said, it's working good so far. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Got a super glue in this one, I think. Alright, so we got that all glued up. Put our clamp up against the back of it. You can hear that it's got those things actually got really good magnets in them. For it to be a cheaper jig, they stick really hard on it. Clean up that excess glue that's squeezed out. We'll give it a few seconds. My phone going off like crazy over here. Alright, so we give that a few seconds to dry, to set, and we'll go ahead and pull our clamp off. Be careful when you're pulling your clamp off so that you don't accidentally mess up that vein or, you know, move it at all, because you want it all perfect. If you're anything like me, make sure there's no glue stuck in my clamp. And then that's the end of that. Pull it out of there. Clean up any bit of glue that's left, seeped out around the edges. There's not much at all. It actually looks really clean. So then what we're going to do, we got all these. It's funny, every one of these veins is exactly in the same spot in the back. You can look at them. And on the top end up here, 2 of them are perfect, and one of them is just like a hair shorter. I mean, it's not enough to matter. It's not enough to make a difference, but anyways, so once we get all this done, what I will do is take this same super glue and I'll just put like a drop on the end right here of each vein, just a drop, to kind of help seal those in, to make sure that they don't come loose, like if you get a full pass-through or something like that. And if you get just a little too much and it tries to run down the side, you can just take a cotton swab and clean it up so that you got a nice, clean, slick arrow. I really like these wraps. I just started using these when I started building these for myself, and I'm a fan of them. I like them. It makes it easy cleaning up the glue, and they just look clean. Like I said, you can see these so good going down range and in your target because they're so bright. Then when you get that done, you come through and do a drop on the back end here, same way you did the front, just a drop right on the end of it. I'm shaking because I'm trying to hold still here. Just put a drop right on the end of each arrow, just to make sure that those things don't go anywhere. And there you have it. We got this camera set. That's what they look like, all done up. They turned out really good. I mean, they look slick. I really love the way these turned out. And then take your fill tip, because all your glue in here by this point is dry. It's not gonna have any problems. You might take a Q-tip and run around the inside there to the insert itself just to make sure that there's no glue. But at this point, like I said, all that super glue should be dry if that's what you're using. If you were using epoxy, you wouldn't be able to do this quick. You'd have to wait a little longer, but using this super glue, it works out really good. It's dry and set and not a problem. So there we go. We got my fill tip on. That's the finished product. I know this has been a little bit longer of a video. I don't know any way to shorten it up. I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of a slow process if you're anal about it like I am, as far as how everything turns out and how it looks. I really like the way these look. Like I said, these are the Easton Axis 5mm match grades. I freaking love them. If you get on Podium Archery, that's where I ordered my shafts at. I looked on Lancaster and several other sites, and the cheapest place I found them was Podium Archery. So I got 12 bear shafts from them. Like I said, they'll come with the 12 shafts. They come with a bag of inserts, 12 16 grain hit inserts. It comes with the little hit insert tool to install them with, and it actually comes with it's a little pack, a 2-pack
it's like a 2-part epoxy for the head inserts. The problem with this is, unless you're going to build them all at one time, you know what I mean? It's just not it's not going to do you a whole lot of good. And I'm just building these 1 or 2 at a time, you know, as I need them. I'm not actually building up the whole pack, so that's why I went with the super glue. And like I said, I hope you guys like it. I hope this helps somebody. And if you want to eat me up in the comments and tell me how I'm doing it wrong and not doing it the way I should and all that, that's fine too. This is all new to me. This is literally the 3rd arrow that I've built. Well, one of them I ended up refletching today and rewrapping because, like I said, it went through that fence gate and it screwed it. It tore the fletchings up pretty bad, and it ripped up the wrap on it. So I just took a razor blade and scraped the wrap off and cleaned it up with one of those alcohol wipes and rewrapped it and refletched it, and it's good to go again. So it didn't hurt the arrow or the insert or anything at all, but these things are freaking sweet. I don't have a lot of money in the setup, like I said. It's a little cheap. That's the symbol it shows on the side of it. I don't know what the brand is. It's just some off-brand fletching jig. I will say this, when you go to set up your fletching jig on these, so test fit them first. So put your arrow in the jig, and then go ahead and put you a fletching in here. Don't put any glue on it. Just put you a fletch in there and line it up and set it on the shaft and test it. Make sure that, because the first one I fletched, the ends of the arrows up here were kind of cocked off a little, and so what I had to do was loosen these 2 adjustment knobs, and I had to just kind of slide it around the magnet part, the piece that the clamp sticks to. I had to slide this around a little up top and a little on the back until I made sure I could see that vein was seated perfectly flush all the way down that shaft, and there was no gaps or anything in it. And other than that, you should be good to go. Like I said, this was $30 online. I got $60 in this little cheap Hercules arrow saw right here. It's nothing special, just a little cheap chop saw with a little 2-inch blade, I think, on it. And like I said, as long as you twist your arrow shaft in there as you're cutting, just go slow, take your time, don't rush it, and twist that shaft. It'll cut them just as smooth and slick, and you won't have any frays or anything in your actual shaft when you get it done. It'll be a nice clean cut, and you won't have any problems. So like I said, this is what they look like all done up. Those are the ones that I bought from the shop when I bought this bow. They cut them to length and all that for my draw length, and so that's just I based this off the same thing. And these have I ordered my jig with a right helical on them because that's the way these were set up from the shop, and they seem to fly really good. So I got a straight fletch clamp and a right helical clamp, and I don't know what the degree is or any of that. It's just whatever it come with, but I like them. They turn out, like I said, they turn out really, really good, and I've really enjoyed building these arrows. I wished I'd have got into this a long time ago. It's a lot of fun building them, and it's pretty satisfying when you get out there shooting and they fly straight and you don't have any problems with them. But you can see the difference in how much better you can see this arrow than this one, especially in an orange target. But anyways, that's my process of how I build them, and then what I go through as far as building my arrows. I don't think there's anything I've left out. Just make sure if you're using the AAE Max vanes like I'm using, they say they will not stick for crap if you don't prime them. So make sure you're at the very least, I'm, like I said, taking some alcohol wipes and wiping your shafts down before you wrap the shafts or before you put your vanes on the shafts, so that you make sure those vanes stick really good. And even after you wrap it, make sure you wipe the wrap itself down after it's on the shaft, so that the vanes have a clean spot to stick to, so that there's no oils from your fingers or anything like that keeping these vanes from sticking and being solid on there. I think that's it, guys. Thanks. I'll catch you in the next one.